a percentage more or less students in college, or maybe something related to anything where there's an increase or a
Yeah.
decrease. Okay. But we're gonna primarily focus on money, because that is kind of the easy one here. If you don't mind sharing, do you have a favorite place you like to go to eat, or somewhere you like to get food from?
I like to go to there's a place called Locale,
Okay.
it's an Italian restaurant.
Italian
I
restaurant.
like.
Okay. So let's say mom and dad and you go, and your bill is let's just say it's $85. I don't know if
Okay.
that's right or not, but let's just say it's $85. And let's say you want to leave, like you said, a 20% tip. Do you have any idea how you might calculate that from this number?
No.
Okay. Do you have any idea what a 10% tip is from this?
Would you? It would be well from an $80 10% tip. Actually, no, I do not.
So 10% is actually $8.50.
10%. Oh yeah, because that you would just add a zero and onto that basically,
You move the
and move
decimal
move the
left.
decimal
Right.
over one end.
Okay. Now, my question or thought for you is, how do you go from 10% to 20%? What's the math operation? Or more generally, how do you go from 10 to 20? What do you?
You could add or multiply.
Okay, let's stick with multiplication. You
Okay.
would multiply by 2. So what if we were to multiply this tip by 2?
You would multiply. That would be
How much would that be?
$17.
$17. So if you've ever been to a restaurant, you've seen a line item for a tip, and you add these together, what would the total be?
It would be uh, 102.
$102. Yeah. Now the question is, can we go directly from this amount to this amount here? And the answer is yes. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to take this 85 and we're going to multiply it by 1.2. Okay. Could you multiply that for us?
Sure. It would be still 102.
It's still 102. Now, how could that be? Well, here's why. So 1.2 is really 1 plus 0.2.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, and then I guess you could.
The 0.2 is 20% and the 1 is 100%.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, have you ever purchased something at a store, like maybe a video game or some camping gear or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. What is something you've bought recently, or your parents bought for you when you were kind of there, part of the purchase?
Let's think. Um, Probably a new bike actually is.
Okay, so I know bicycles can range. Is
Yeah.
I don't know, is $500 right?
$1,500.
Okay, so it's a very, very nice bike. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. And let's just throw on this right here, 99. Okay. Now there is what's called sales tax. Have you heard of that
Yeah.
before?
And is that like
Well, it depends on,
25% or whatever it is or something?
well, that's pretty high sales tax. Believe it or not, there's state, there's local as well, but that's a different class. Let's keep it really simple. Let's say you paid 6% sales tax on
Okay.
this bike. Okay. Now here is
But why would it be 6%?
it's based on whatever legislation is put together, but that money goes to the state or the local government,
Okay.
and that's a separate class. Like that's,
Okay.
we don't need to worry about that. Now, one of the ways you could do this is to literally multiply this thing by 0.06, and I'm not going to ask you to do that because that's kind of an awful thing to do. But when you get your receipt, it gives you the sales tax, or the original item, the sales tax, and then the total price. Okay. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this multiplication for us. Then I'm going to show you how we can do it faster. Okay. So in this case, 6% is exactly $90.
Okay.
Okay. So your receipt would say $1,499.99 and $90. Okay. And then you would add these together, and your total would be $1,589.99.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically off by a cent, but then it would be $1,590. Okay.
Well, the sale price is $14.99.99.
Mhm.
So this is, I mean, and this is exactly $90 is the 6%, because it ends up rounding. But anyway, point is you never pay exactly that sale price, because you always have tax to consider, and the tax is a percent. Now, how do you go from the original number to this number right here? What would you multiply by to go from the original?
Multiply by 0.06.
That's the so 0.06 is the 90. How do we get the whole amount that we started with? 1.06.
Oh, 1 point. Okay.
Okay, so the idea is that the 1 is the original amount, the 6 is the sales tax, but again, that gives you the total. It doesn't give you the tax that's on there. Just like in the
Okay.
previous example we did, if you multiply by 10%, you get the tip, or 20%.
Yeah.
We might want the total.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about what I call the rule of 10, the rule of 10 with percentages.
Okay.
Okay, and the idea is that any percentage you want to calculate goes back to 10%. Okay, and so let's say, and we'll pick something kind of crazy here. Let's say you wanted to calculate 11.1% of $20. Okay.
Okay.
So what is option one? Option one is you could come over here and multiply these numbers together. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to start by asking what is 10%? What is 10% of 20? And I'm asking you that
10%.
question.
Oh, 10% of 20 is $10, I guess.
$2.
$2.
Why is it $2? Remember we talked about moving the
Because
decimal?
20 or 2 times 10.
Okay.
20, I guess. I don't know.
So you move the decimal. You move the decimal to the left for 10%.
Okay.
All right. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is 1% of 20? Okay. Now, the reason I'm asking 1% is because it's 11% here. But the question for you is how do you go from 10 to 1, and it's either multiply or divide?
Okay.
What do you divide 10 by?
You would divide 10 by, would it be 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to divide this 2 over here on the right by 10.
Okay.
What is 2 divided by 10?
2 divided by 10 is 0.2.
0.2. Yeah. Now notice we're just moving the decimal each time we're moving it left. The last one is, what is 0.1% of 20? And again, I'll point out here that you're just dividing by 10. So you're going to divide 0.2 by 10. What does that
Okay.
become?
You're gonna divide 0.2 divided by 10. Zero point 0.2.
0.2.
Or, yeah,
0.02.
0.02. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Now, if we add up the percentages, we're adding up 10 plus 1 plus 0.1. That's 11.1%. We're now going to add up 2 plus 0.2 plus 0.02. What is that?
It would be 2.22.
2.22. You got it. Very good. So just to summarize, we broke down 11.1% into 10%, 1%, and 0.1%.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at another problem here. What is 6% of 30? What is 6% of 30? So you always start with 10%. So 10% of 30, can you tell me what that is?
10% of 30 is 3.
Good. Okay. Now 5% of 30, this is a little bit different. How do you go from 10 to 5? What do you multiply or divide by to go from 10 to 5?
You would divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So we're going to divide this number by 2. What is, can you tell
3
me?
divided by 2 is 0.15, I guess.
Nope. So again, like we're doing
0.15.
this 3 divided by 2. So which number goes outside the house, which goes inside the house?
3 goes outside the house.
2 goes
Oh,
outside.
2 goes outside? Oh yeah, 2 does go outside.
Yes.
But then how would that work? Because
It goes in 1 time to 3.
oh
Subtract.
yeah. So it's 1.5. So 1.5.
Yes. So if it was $3, does half of $3 mean $1.50?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Do you pay with cash ever?
Yes, I do. Mostly
Okay.
cash.
Yeah. So this is a good exercise to just, if you've got some dollars and quarters, you can always play this game. Now I'm helping out here. So what is 1% of 30? So you have a choice. You can either go from 5% or 10%. I think it's better to go from 10%. How do you go from 10 to 1? What do you divide by?
10 to 1, you divide by 10.
10. Good. So you're going to take this 3 and you're going to divide it by 10 also.
10.
What is 3 divided by 10?
0.03 or 0.3.
0.3. Okay. Now, our original problem is 6%. Which numbers get you to 6% in our list here?
You could you do 1.6?
You can do 5 and 1. Do you see how 5 and 1 get you to 6%?
Yes.
So
5
these,
plus 1, 6. Okay.
so you're going to
So
add this
so then you'd add those, which is 1.7.
8.
1.8, sorry.
0.8.
Okay.
So the idea is, and it probably would take a lot longer for you to buy into that. We're going to do a few more examples, is that 10% is pretty easy. 1% comes from this and so on. But let's try another one here. Let's go 17% of 80.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is 10% of 80.
Okay.
What
Okay.
is 10% of 80?
10% of 80 is 8.
Okay. Now let's go 5% of 80.
Is 5% of 80 is 4.
Yes, because it's half of 10, right? Half
Yeah.
of 10 is 5, so half of this number, good. Now let's do 1% of 80. Which number are you going to go with?
The 10.
10. So you're going to divide the 8 by 10. What does that become?
Um 0.8.
0.8, good. Very good. Okay. Fantastic. Now we have to figure out how to get to 17%. Okay, so basically you're breaking 17% up into the numbers we have here. Do you see that it's 10 plus 5
Yes.
plus 1 plus 1?
Yes. So
8 plus 4.
12 plus 0.8 plus 0.8.
Very
So
good.
12 plus 0.8. 0.8. Okay.
What would that be?
So so 12.16.
I think you got a little bit off there because you said it right. It's 12 plus
0.8. 0.8. Well, 0.8 was 0.8 is 0.16. Oh no, it was 1.6. 1.6. Okay.
Yes.
So 13.6.
Very good. Okay. Let's go back to that bike example. Let's say you want to do 10.5% of 1,500. Believe it or not, taxes as high as 10.5% in some
Oh, wow.
places.
Okay.
Yeah,
Still not as high as 25.
not yet. We'll see it. We'll see it someday. What is 10% of 1,500?
10% of 1,500 is 15, I guess.
You're moving the decimal one place to the left.
Oh, so 150.
150. Okay. What is 1% of 1,500? So you're-
that by 10
this, yeah, 150 divided by 10.
is. um, 15.
15, very good. Now this one's a little awkward, but 0.5% of 1500. Excuse me. So 0.5% is half. It's half of 1%. Do you see that?
Yes. Oh yeah, because 0.5 plus 0.5 is 1. Okay.
Exactly. So what's half of 15?
Half of 15 is 0.15 or repeating, I guess, technically. So
You're taking half of 15. So it's 15 divided by 2. 2 into 15.
yeah.
7 times 2 is 14.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we got it. So now we got it. So to get 10.5%, it's really 10% and 0.5%. So we're going to add up the
Okay.
150 and the,
So 157.5.
yes. Okay. So I would encourage you, we're going to stop here.